Boston butt. You've got yourself a pellet smoker and you want to make one. But you've been online, you viewed all kinds of forums, seen all kinds of videos, and you're confused. Well, so was I. But I'm going to take a lot of the confusion out. You might not win awards, but you sure will have a great piece of meat when you're done. Now this here is your Boston butt. Why do they call it a Boston butt? Well, in Massachusetts, they used to take these cuts of meat and put them in the bottom of the barrels they called butt, and this was just called a butt. Butt roast, a shoulder roast, but this is your Boston butt. Now, we're going to take a little bit closer look at it, and there is your, this side, right here, we're going to get chunks out of after it's all barbecued. All through here, nice little chunks through there. And then this side right here has a muscle, a little piece here that's commonly called the money muscle. This is competition, this is where they make their money, I guess. It's just known standard. Now, we're also going to take a look at this. You got a fat side with a fat cap on it on this end. And underneath there's going to be a lot of the tubes where a lot of the shredded meat's going to come out of. So, got a blade side here. This is the under the blade side. So, gonna set this down. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut some of this fat away. I've done these with the fat cat on, trimmed a little bit of it off before, left all of it on, but until I did it this way, I didn't get best results. When I started to remove this fat off, all of it, because you'll see, you can go on and read, some people say leave it on, no, take it off, no, trim it. But when I got to a point where I started taking this off, there was a big difference in what and how this meat tasted. What this fat does is, there's a concept that you leave it on, it'll melt, it'll help keep your meat moist, but there's so many little connective fatty tissues inside of here to keep this meat moist. Plus, we're going to inject it as well, that we don't really need this fat. So, but removing this fat will give us access to exposing more of that meat to the smoke instead of it having to penetrate through here, which it really doesn't do a great job of when it's on the smoker. And then also give us access to getting rub inside some of these areas. So I'm gonna take off this fat cap and just cut this off, just like I'm doing here. Just keep working away at it. You could just, there's a lot of meat here. This is a 9.5 pound butt. But I just work it off here, just grab hold of it and kind of slice at it. That way you don't chunk a whole bunch of meat off at one time. You just keep working it and it'll start to come off. You see, as I'm removing it here, you see all this meat here inside that gets exposed now to both the rub and the smoke from the grill. So there's a lot of fat on here. And you just keep working at it and it'll all come off. Now for the sake of time, I'm just gonna finish this out, take this big cap off and come right back to you. Now as you can see, it looks a little bit different now. Took this big hunk of fat, there's a little bit of meat inside there. that you can see, and that's the big old fat cap. Now that just would have sat there and melted down, and that's 1.4 pounds of fat we just took off that thing. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna continue to get the most. You can see you probably see some of this. This is gonna make most of your pulled pork right in through these areas in here. So what you wanna do is you're gonna keep working off this fat. Just take a little bit, just grab it and pull it. I mean, I've seen some guys just cut it right down to that, but I don't know, I got a thing against cutting off meat. But what we'll do is continue to work this down and cut off the fat and a lot of the silver skin until we get it pretty much exposed meat, and then we can rub on our rub. But we just keep working at it here, and it'll just come right off. Be careful not to cut yourself, as always. And just get up working underneath there, and this is the silver skin pieces that can come right off, and you know, they melt down and drip into your pan, but or all over your grill. But if you can get this meat exposed, it'll make a big difference. So again, for the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this away. Y'all can see what I'm doing. I'll move into the next portion of how we're gonna get this ready. I don't know about you, but I hate watching instructional videos and all of a sudden they're spending like 10 minutes on something and you gotta keep looking through it. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead and get to the next part real quick. Okay, you can see I've gotten most of this fat off this side, and you'll just continue to work a little bit more of this off. You'll notice some of this stuff is just really, you know, meat you're really not gonna shred up anyways because it's gonna be covered in fat. So you'll work it off. But what I want to do real quick is get to the back side of this and see. Now you'll see that all this meat here can get exposed to that smoke and the rub that you're gonna put on it. Now, one big key that you're gonna wanna deal with here is this here. Remember I showed you earlier, is that money muscle. And if you follow your fingers down inside of here, you'll work this a little bit, and you follow these little separations, and you can work a lot of it good and free with your fingers. You'll see you can get down in there. And if you break these apart, you'll cut down in here, and what you're gonna do is you can get this whole money muscle right here. It's a good piece of meat right down in here. And I'll show you when I get this on the grill later. So you can get up in here and you can see you get these pockets. That's just fat that's in there and separating a lot of this meat. But if you get in here, now you can get seasonings all inside of here with that rub. And you can work a lot of it. And you can cut some of this fat here off the back side of it that just don't need to be there. Unless you like eating fat, but that's really not why you eat pulled or smoked pork, pulled pork. So you can cut that off and get that all cut off, but you just want to keep cutting a lot of this stuff off in here and work down in some of these areas, and you'll find them with your finger where you can start to separate a lot of this, where you can get, you know, get this meat. You can keep working this back over this way. You can see muscle here runs all the way up. It's just connected tissue of fat that's holding it together. But now, and you break this up here, and you can pull this apart, and you can cut out this silver skin, which I'll do. It takes just a little bit of time. It's a little bit of work, but I'm telling you, you know, you're not sitting a quick cook, and a little bit extra time I've found has gone a long way. So what I'll do, again, I'll cut this back. This is that money muscle right here, and pull this fat out. I'm gonna come back in here and cut all this fat out. See, this is all meat on this side where you can get them chunks. Out here, we'll get this silver skin off here and remove all this fat, connected tissue, and all this will get rubbed and on it and get exposed to the smoke on the grill. See, all this stuff right here is normally, if you didn't take this off and do this, it's just gonna sit like a big chunk on your grill and not get exposed. So I'm gonna cut this out. I'm gonna stop here and fast forward after I get all this cut out, and just to save some time. All right, now you can see we got most of this away, a good portion of this out of here. This be able to get exposed. We got your this money muscle here, really good. You can get, we got some fat in here, and that's okay. We got this all, a lot of this fat cut out of there where we can get exposure, and then this back up in here, we got the majority of that fat gone. You know, if I look at it here, I'll tell you, we took off another big old hunk right here. Probably feels like about a half a pound. That's a pound and a 4 ounce, and yeah, about another half pound really. So, but now that we got this done, we're gonna do is go ahead and move on to the next important part, which is making the injection marinade that we're gonna put inside. Now for this injection marinade, we got a tablespoon of butter. We're gonna add to that 3/4 of a cup of apple juice. A 1/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. A 1/2 a cup of pineapple juice. Two tablespoons of salt, and a 1/4 of a cup brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. You want to heat this up. You don't want to boil it. You just want to get it heated up to where that salt and the brown sugar dissolves. And once you get that heated up and dissolved, you're gonna set that aside just a little bit, let it cool down before you inject it into your meat. You don't want to burn yourself. Okay, now that we've got our marinade made, we're gonna get on to injecting it here in the meat. As the marinade mix made about 2 cups of marinade, I'm gonna use about 1.5 cups and inject it here into the meat. And you're just gonna, you've never done this before, I mean, this is pretty simple. You're gonna try to fill this up as much as possible, and you're gonna get in every little section that you can. You work it in and get some of that in there, and you'll start to see these, this muscle just really kind of bulge up. You can hold quite a bit of marinade in there. Just kind of working in all over into some of the bigger portions of this meat, going in about 1 inch away each time. Just stuffing it full. Get down in there, work it in. Now I made it without a marinade before, and I thought it was kind of not needed for a long time, but this is probably one of the biggest differences I've noticed, or biggest techniques I've noticed that have made the biggest difference in the outcome of my finished product. Just kind of get it in here as much as you can. Sometimes just don't want to cooperate. Get back up into this money muscle again. But I'll finish this up and we'll move on to the rub. Now I'm sure most of you use rubs before. I've bought commercial rubs. I mean, this is one I used once before. I just mixed this up myself. There's several recipes out there that I haven't noticed any difference between any rubs that I've used when it comes down to the final taste of the barbecue. But you got to get something on there for a nice bark. Yeah, you know, there's all kinds of recipes that are out there. You can save a lot of money. You make your own rub. These are pretty expensive, but we're just gonna get here to get it on here. Be pretty generous. Don't be shy. Get your hands in there and work it in. Get your fingers down in them pockets you opened up earlier. Now, I know a lot of guys will put mustard on, say to help the rub stick, but I found that it stays on just fine, especially after you get it all injected and it gets real moist. You just get it on there, it sticks. I've always found, I think it tastes a little bit better without the mustard because the actual seasoning sticks to the meat. Otherwise, it's just sticking to the mustard. So here we can get that pocket opened up, or we can get inside there before we cut out all that fat that was just sitting up there, tucked away, protected by, or not really protected, but protected from seasoning, I guess. But now, I'm not gonna waste any of this good rub sitting here. I'm gonna take this and wrap this up, cellophane, put it in the refrigerator, let it sit overnight. I've never tried one right away. I've always let them set overnight. So you got a long day ahead of you tomorrow to smoke one of these. So we're gonna let it sit overnight, wrap it up in cellophane. Next thing we'll do is get this on the smoker. place, you're gonna want to put this fat side up to start. Want to check on it every hour and baste it. It's gonna take about 2 hours, give or take, per pound. But we're looking for an internal temp of about 150 degrees. And so until then, you're gonna want to check on it, baste it. We're gonna flip it after 4 hours. But right now we got her at 250. You can put it on. I got one more I'm gonna stick on here. So you can see I got enough grill space. I'm gonna close her up and let this Bighorn pellet grill do the work. Okay, it's been an hour. We're gonna open this up and take a look. You can see not much after an hour's change. It's still pretty moist. You know, at this point, you could add a little bit of the mixture that we injected on top. Keep it a little bit moist, but as you can see, it's a little cold out here, so really, you can get a close look at it here. It's really kind of moist here. This fat's just really starting to get warmed up. No need to really do anything at this point, so we'll check back in an hour. Okay, here's another look. We're 2 hours in. Now it's time to just add a little bit of the basting from the injection. So we're just going to rub a little bit on here. Grab some. Just brush it on. Not too much. Give it a little bit. Check back in now. There we are, 3 hours in. You can see, still moist. I'm gonna just dab a little more sauce on here, and or the injector juice. Not too much. Don't really need it right now. It's pretty moist. And then check back again in an hour, and in an hour we'll flip. Alright, we're 4 hours in here, and as you can see, try to read that temp there, about 161 right there on that thermometer, 162. Cooking a little bit fast, but each roast will cook faster than each butt will cook different. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and flip them, and then we're gonna check on them again in an hour. Okay, you can see here, I flipped them. We're at what's called the stall point right here. It's about 6 hours in. You read on the thermometer about 162 here. Check last about where it was. After another hour, we're still in this 52-ish. So up in here, we're gonna at the sink, 60. So we're gonna come back, wrap them up in foil. I'm normally gonna wrap them up in foil, I'm sorry, but I'm looking for a little bit more darker bark color on there. So I'm gonna leave them on. Just keep cooking. Remember, it's about 2 hours per pound. These are 8 pounds each, so we got more time to cook. All right, we're about 9 hours in here. Just a little over 9 hours. It's a little bit darker. You can see right here, 174. Still got about 30 degrees to go. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap these, and I'm gonna get them back on here until they reach 205. All right, been a total of 12 hours. We got 210 degrees. These are done. We're gonna take them off, let them rest. There you go. about 30 minutes in the foil just to let it sit there and rest. And I know you can't feel it, but it's still nice and moist. And this will break up and pull apart real easy. So there you go. You might not win a competition with it, but you sure will impress your friends. So thanks for watching. Like and share.